Hi. Now that we have some keywords to search with and we've chosen some databases, I'm going to show you how to go into a database and maybe find some other keywords and even better, some subject terms that you can use and how to use filters in databases to really set up a good focused search. So my topic right now is I'm thinking about the idea of mainstreaming students, probably high school students, around different math classes. So I've got the word mainstreaming, but I really want to find out, is that how this database, I'm in ERIC right now, how does this database think about the term mainstreaming, and what might some synonyms or subject terms be? I'm going to go up to the very top of the database to something called the ERIC Thesaurus. It's up here at the top on the green bar. Once I click on that, I notice that the ERIC Thesaurus comes up. So I'm going to type in the word mainstreaming in order to find out what kind of words there might be in this database. Here's the word mainstreaming. If it appears in the list, that means this is actually a subject term that's used in ERIC. So I can actually use it in my search as a subject term, which is a much more powerful way to search. I'm going to click on the word mainstreaming and see what comes up. This tells me underneath mainstreaming what the scope of this term is, so I know what the definition is. It also gives me some related terms, and I'm going to look underneath here and see if there's any, here's a good one. It's called inclusion. This is a great way that I can also use this as a subject term in my search. So I'm going to jot down mainstreaming, and I'm going to jot down inclusion as two synonyms for the same thing. Now remember, another part of my search was high schoolers. So I'm going to type in the word high school because I'm not sure how this database really determines what grade levels are and such. So I'm looking through the thesaurus now under high school, and I see there is something called high schools. I'm going to click on that and look at some of these related terms. Let's see, grade 10, grade 11, that's a little too restrictive. Secondary education. Here's a great term that I might be able to use. So I'm going to jot that down and probably not even use high school. And remember, the other part of my search was around mathematics, but I think I'll do a keyword search on that, and I'll show you how I'm going to set that up. So I'm going to go back into the ERIC database where I came in, and this is the regular old search screen, and I'm going to type in my first keyword and all the synonyms connected with the word or. So I'm going to type in mainstreaming or inclusion. Now, why did I do that? Because I will actually, I better spell mainstreaming, right? I'll accept either one of these terms because they mean kind of the same thing. But you notice over here on the right of my search box, it says select a field. If I don't select a field, it's just going to search everywhere like a keyword. But I know that in the database here, these are called subject descriptors. And so I can choose the SU descriptor limit, and then it's just going to look for these as subject terms, which means the article has to be substantially about this topic. Now, what did I find for high school? Oh yeah, secondary education. And I'm going to do that as a subject descriptor as well, because I found it in the thesaurus, so I know it's a subject descriptor. And then my other term I could use is mathematics, and maybe or algebra, because they teach that in high schools, or geometry. Now, you'll notice that I'm going to leave this as a keyword search where it says select a field. I'll let it go and do a keyword search on that one. That's okay. But the other two I have with my subject descriptors. Now, you might be wondering, why did I put or in between my different synonyms? That's because I will accept either mathematics or algebra or geometry. They're near synonyms to me. But the other key is, look at this, mainstreaming and secondary education and mathematics or algebra or geometry. So I've really set up a pretty focused search, a pretty complicated search, and it's a search that's using these what we call Boolean operators and or. You might remember these from high school algebra. They're ways of making sets, and that's what we're doing here, is we're making a search set. So I'm feeling pretty good about my search. Now the other thing that I can do is I'll go ahead and do this search and see what comes up. Okay, so mainstreaming or inclusion, secondary education, mathematics. Oh, I spelled mathematics wrong, so I better do that. That will probably find mathematics. Oh, 226. This may be a little bit too many. Now, remember the ERIC database has some filters over here, so I can actually filter it by, oh yeah, I only want peer-reviewed articles, because I don't want to have some of those ERIC reports and things. And you notice it brought it down to 71. So these might be the 71, if I consider this a good search, the 71 articles that I would include in my group to be looking on my systematic review. So what I'd like you to do is, if you consider ERIC to be a database you would use, go ahead and try to play around with the thesaurus, find some other great descriptors, or you can find some keywords that you can set up your search using the Boolean operators or for synonyms and to include different sets. And what you'll do is record it on the section of your handout like this. So I would record this search as the database name was ERIC, and I did mainstreaming as a descriptor or inclusion as a descriptor. And you notice I have that in parentheses, just like algebra. I have to do that operation first. And the term secondary education as a descriptor, and parentheses, mathematics or algebra or geometry, because those are all synonyms, and then I end my parentheses. You'll also notice that I have limited it to the academic journals, so I have to use that as a filter. The reason I'm recording this is because when you do systematic reviews, you have to be very detailed in what your searches were and what databases you searched in, so that other people who read your review can say, ah, yes, she covered all of those databases that needed to be covered, and her searches looked like they would have gotten all the articles that she needed to get.